New stage.
What is that? Oh Jesus, that's Tony. That's the word. I'm really fucking tired.
Are you?
Alright, let's do some lines
It's
and
great what
wake
sleep
up.
makes you more tired.
Does it?
It does apparently. It doesn't matter how much sleep you get.
Are we going to go yet?
Are we gonna go?
I mean, normally we just sort of discover that we've actually been going for like the past minute.
Have we been over the past?
No, only the past 32 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to today's episode of the Mediate podcast.
The podcast in which I can't be fucked to do anything, so I'm just gonna be a freeloader.
Hi, I'm a guest. My name's Dave.
A new challenger approaches.
Right, so last time some weird shit happened.
Yes, the wheel of who will present next. Instead of going for the regular two-dimensional options of, Harry, Tony or Jonathan, it went for a whole new third direction. It pointed out randomly, so we followed it along to the first human we met, and that's how we found Lawrence here.
That's
our
me.
New guest
Hi, everyone.
host.
And coincidentally, he had a game and film for 2013 prepared for us.
That was quite lucky.
Indeed, I did.
What was that game and film?
Well, we've got a Bioshock Infinite. That's my 2013 game, and Wolf of Wall Street, 2013 film.
So if we were to do a podcast in the regular format, we'd normally start with a opening question. But as I don't think you have prepared one, as you're a random guest of randomness.
Can you improvise a random question?
This is going to
No
be
question mark.
Well, let's move on
It's a rhetorical question.
to the normal running order, which
Returning.
is Johnny takes the heat for a bit. You'll get our shit together.
Does this segment have a name yet? Did we decide to
Yeah, Johnny gets his shit together.
All right. Well, that's okay. So, the TV show that I'd like to talk about this time is Rick and Morty. That was released in 2013. It's probably the best cartoon.
It's not better than Simpsons.
It's
like.
way better than Simpsons.
Early
It is.
Simpsons.
Sit down.
Early
It's better
Simpsons
than-
was like 3 laughs a minute. Like it was so solid.
Rick and Morty is like 5 to 6 laughs a minute. I think I actually
Like
watched
10
a video
laughs.
in which somebody went and counted up the laughs per
I
minute.
don't think
and it's
anything
around
beats
there.
Airplane for last minute. Airplane's
Yeah, but
probably
we're not. That's a film.
Alright.
We're talking about a cartoon.
cartoon TV
Don't-
series. The
Don't
Simpsons.
cross compare the
Tangent.
genres, Harry.
Alright.
Genres have to be separate.
You
I
know.
was just talking about my LPM ratio. Leave me alone.
Well, yeah, Rick and Morty. It's just, I don't know. It's funny and it's clever and it's also a bit sad and makes you feel emotions.
Is it
but
sci-fi?
it is.
You just
Yeah.
described the Futurama.
But it was so much better than
So-
Futurama. It's got so much more.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a sort of article recently, which was saying even if Rick and Morty wasn't a comedy, it could still be a good sci-fi. Sort of the ideas that it comes up with, because it's got Rick, the main character. Sort of the thing that makes him special is that he's the cleverest guy in the universe, and he's created this device that creates portals between dimensions.
Doc Emmett Brown.
Yeah, what is the connection with this show and Back to the Future? Is it like
Other
a
than
parody?
probably science.
Well, you've got the
Okay.
fact that
I really thought you were going to say Bioshock Infinite. Universes. I was like, it's quite an obvious one.
well, you've got Morty instead of Marty. So that's one comparison. But the difference is Back to the Future has time travel. Rick and Morty has dimension hopping. There is no time travel.
So there's time stopping.
Dialgo and
They
Palkia.
can put
I am going to be so confused.
Mm.
Being the one person who doesn't get science, I'm going to be so confused by the
Well,
end.
you don't
of
need
it.
to get science. It's just total like.
Yeah, but when we're talking
Yeah.
about Bioshock Infinite, I'm just going to be like...
Again, that's not real science.
Everyone
it's
knows
that.
that one physics lesson where we talked about quantum particles that can make cities float.
Yeah, but there's that one throwaway line where Elizabeth's like, I've got loads of books about science.
Not
That's how
really
she
one.
knows how to like...
So she knows anything.
Yeah.
I read it in the book,
Well,
mate.
just quickly back to Rick and Morty. The thing I like about it is it's a really clever blend of being incredibly stupid and incredibly clever at the same time. So you get dumb sort of, not even slapstick, just banal childish humour. So like this character, Mr. Poopy Butthole. I mean, come on, that's just dumb, but it's funny. And then you blend that in with really clever storylines that keep you engaged and interested, and just a formula for a really good show. I love it. I've been binge watching it for the past few weeks, and that's not just like binge watching it in order. I've been repeating the episodes because there aren't enough of them.
Right. Let's just say it's mid 2017. How many episodes of Rick and Morty are there? Or just how many series? If I wanted to pick it up and watch it.
2 and 1 episode.
Yeah, 2 series and 1 episode.
How long are the series?
10
about,
episodes.
8 or 10 episodes.
Half an hour?
It's going to be at this point in time, in 6 more days, the next series will be starting.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, I think,
It's
12
really-
new episodes with that.
If you could see time as I do, you'd realise there is no fixed point.
It's really easy to pick up.
Alright, that's
because it's. I mean, you could even just watch one episode off the bat, just a random episode, and it's funny anyway. It's nice to watch it in order, but it's just that's why it's so great. You can just pick it up and like watch it, and it's funny, like The Simpsons, but it's got obviously I think more structured storyline.
I just realised Tony's dressed like a punk from the 90s.
You're breaking the
roll
illusion.
sleeves.
I know that. Excellent.
Oh, right. I didn't realise the sleeves were rolled up. I thought you were wearing a sleeveless
I
little
just twisted a bit.
vest.
Harry.
Like a school bully
Please.
from fucking Saved by the Bell.
No.
Contemporary references I've got.
The audience don't know what we look like, but now that is the image of me
They're
in
so
their
lucky.
heads.
Tony is a punk rocker.
Great. Great.
You
All
know,
I
he's
know.
got a mohawk.
It's like,
Tattoos all over
Pierced
him.
nipples.
Little, he's got that sort of the tear tattoo underneath his eye.
how many people have killed?
Yeah, he's a thug.
All I've seen of Rick and Morty is the one like short 1 minute
I
segment.
thought you were a fan of it.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
No.
oh, good.
I mean, I'm a fan of the idea of it, but I haven't found the time yet.
Oh,
And there's not much time required. Stop at watching anime and stop watching Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty is anime. All I've seen is the minute segment of the talking about how it's made parody of the Plumbus.
The Plumbus, yeah.
And just discovering that so much of it is like ad-libbed, just like
Yeah.
on the fly, is actually like really.
Two brothers.
yeah.
And then a Mexican armada shows up.
I saw the Comic-Con
really
thing
impressive.
they did.
Yeah.
Because there was this great court transcript. It was the most ridiculous transcript of all time. And they took that and they animated it for Comic-Con last year, which is incredible.
Fuck me, no, fuck you.
Yeah. The state of Denver versus... Well, fuck, I don't know. It's quite incredible, though.
Yeah.
That's as much as I remember.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and I love the one of the co-creators, Justin. I can never say his second name.
I think it is just Roland, but you
Roland,
want to say
it's got-
Royland.
Yeah, because it's got an eye.
Have we padded for enough time yet?
He's, no, he's really good. He does a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. So yeah, I like Rick and Morty. It's good.
Have we done enough filler?
What else happened
Yeah,
in
probably.
2013?
Can we move on to the actual content?
Hashtag content. Right.
Don't hashtag, please.
Right, host, take us away with the game.
Okay, so Bioshock Infinite. I'm going to start off by having a brief overview of my experience with the game.
What is the game, though? Just to say, let's use the older Key Stage 2. An alien comes down and you've got to describe it to the alien. What would you say about Bioshock Infinite?
Good luck understanding it the first time you play it through, is all I would say.
What's the
it's-
premise?
You are a guy named Booker DeWitt.
It's a good name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good
Incredible.
name.
It is a
name.
great
It
name.
is.
It
I have
is.
slightly ruined it for myself when every time I hear it, I imagine Palpatine saying, "Do it," but
You've ruined it for me now.
but it is a really like good
Booker
name.
DeWitt.
I think of the Family Guy Cool Whip.
Oh yeah, cool.
Booker the Whip.
It's
Oh,
a great
no,
name.
But anyway, you start off as Booker DeWitt. Yeah, this bloke, and he. I'm trying to remember the first scene now. You're
He's
in.
rowing, isn't he? He's getting
No,
rowed.
he doesn't row.
He's getting
No,
rowed
he's
by...
getting rowed by this
Yeah.
woman in a
gentleman.
raincoat.
And a gentleman in a raincoat. A
Yeah.
gentleman and a lady.
In a raincoat, yeah, that's the one. And then they go up to a lighthouse, and then shit starts to get weird. You go up in,
Yep.
you go up into
The
a
game.
space land which has got racist undertones and
Undertones.
overtones. I mean, it's like if Texas was.
It's like
If Texas went steampunk and decided
Had
it
a lot
didn't
more
want to be
money.
part of America and just wanted to be in the sky.
Yeah, but there aren't really any rednecks. They're just sort of like
it's very Confederate.
yeah,
The entire thing is very.
which means it's kind of like it wants you to hate the characters, which I think is kind of slightly forced. But no, it starts off with a good premise for pushing the story and pushing Booker down the direction you want to go. You don't really know what's going on at the beginning. You just know that you're walking around this fancy world and
You have to find the girl.
Wipe away the debt.
Yeah. And there's not really that much direction until you get up to the stage bit, and the nasty bloke asks you to throw a ball at either a pair of. I think
It's an interracial couple.
interracial
A
couple.
Welshman and that girl.
Yeah,
Is he
and
Welsh?
I'm pretty sure, otherwise they wouldn't have been racist towards him.
No, I think it's just because
Just
he
'cause
was
he's white.
married.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
where's the Welsh come from?
I'm pretty sure one of the signs does.
He's a Welsh.
One of the signs is like so,
No, 'cause,
they don't like
Irish and
Welsh.
coloured.
Yeah,
It's the Irish they don't like.
I realised
they're
that
middling
I'm
with
double
the Welsh.
racist.
Yeah, you're
I'm the
you're-
one who
you're
didn't
a racist.
know
You got
that
against Welsh people, Tony.
I've inserted my
I'm
own
half
Welsh
Welsh, what are you
hatred
talking
into this
about?
game. No, I'm sorry.
Anyway, the game gives you the choice of throwing the ball at the interracial couple or throwing it at the bloke who tells you to throw the ball at the interracial couple.
Telltale-esque implications from that decision.
Yeah, everyone decides to throw the ball at the bloke.
Unless you're a
Happy.
massive
Unless
racist.
you're massive.
Well, I think you can let the timer count down.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
happens
didn't
if you do
realise
that.
I had to make the decision, to be honest.
I'm not sure what happens when you do that, but you can let the timer count down, and that's like a
I'll-
secret
we'll
option.
probably try, yeah.
Option 3.
But after you've done that, you go to throw the ball, your hand gets stopped. Suddenly, they point out that you've got the mark A.
AD.
That's the one. I was about to say AB, but it's AD
Mhm.
for Annabelle DeWitt, but that's not relevant at the moment.
I thought it was like AD isn't the year, because it's very religious, isn't it? I always thought the AD was.
Yeah, that's what I
That's probably
initially
why the
thought
name
going
is that
through,
way,
but then-
Harry.
Then you realise later with some of the flashbacks exactly why it's AD.
So I sort of spoiled that, but it doesn't matter. Sorry.
This is,
Spoilers. If you listen to this, like.
It happened in 2013, guys.
Yeah, but your wrist gets grabbed. They realise that it's a full shepherd,
So good.
and then you're like, oh shit, and they'll try and like blend your face, but then you grab this like hand blender thing and you blend the policeman's face with it.
It's such a brilliant moment because you've been this place has been beautiful and amazing. You've been walking along. It's been sunny. You've got these nice people. They're all fancily dressed. You're walking along. Then there's a barbershop quartet singing "God Only Knows."
That's about the game.
Yeah.
the gayest Barbara quartet in
You've never seen a
Colombia.
barbershop quartet before, Tony. The whole thing is.
Are you being homophobic here?
No, I'm just saying barbershop quartets.
No, as in that's literally the tagline, and they say like it's the gayest barber.
Yeah.
I completely missed that. I was
I
too
was
busy.
very-
It's really quite funny because it's so very religious and it's the old meaning of the word, but it's just up there the gayest quartet.
I've not seen that before actually.
I didn't know. It's
Pay
like,
very close attention to
But anyway,
that.
so it's it's all beautiful and wonderful, and it's looking very the opposite of dystopian. And
suddenly you get this.
Then you get
brutal.
you get the sort of oh god they're racists bit, and then it's sort of
Then you
followed.
get a fight back,
Then you get your fight back bit, and then you just sort of splurge a man's face and sort of blood erupts everywhere, and suddenly that's when the game kicks off. And it's gone, god.
Yeah, it's funny at the bit when the first bit of the game before you get to the stage and the racist bit. when I was playing through the first time, actually I don't really remember the first time. I think I played it when it came out, but
You remember the first time?
no. Back about a year and a half ago, I played it through again, and I was enjoying just mucking around at the fairground bit.
Yeah, I spent like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It was quite fun.
There's some cool sort of like mini game type things.
That is how you want your sort of combat tutorial things. Just shooting signs in a fairground.
Didn't
Learning
even
some
notice
of the
it was
magic
a
stuff.
tutorial.
But I don't really want to admit that it actually took me way too long to realise which way I had to go. I got really frustrated.
Up on the D-pad, it's the best mechanic. You never get lost.
Every game now has the
Every
where
game,
do I go
every
button.
game needs them.
Every
arrow,
game has
yeah.
it though.
It's so good. I love
No,
it.
but I didn't know because I was just inept. So it took me a while, but eventually I found the way through. But I was starting to think this game is getting slightly boring. I want some action, but it's a nice build-up. There's something when it throws you into it, and then you're panicking, you're shitting yourselves because there's turrets and police officers with guns, and you're trying to make your way through, and it's really fun. And then obviously you find the big pyromancer guy because you have these things called vigors, it's like magic stuff. And the pyro guy is a good first fight. I found it quite easy to beat him because I just spammed the pistol until he died. I think it's probably a clever way to beat him, but I just until he was dead, and that was that. But I was actually quite disappointed with the vigors. I thought you didn't have enough. I was too.
No, okay, I'll say it for later. But in terms of, I have the complete opposite thought about
No.
vigors. I think they're.
I thought they were, particularly at the beginning, I was too scared to use them, and particularly at the trap mode, I didn't find that useful
That was
at
really
all.
cool. Unless you upgrade it, so when enemies you've killed using that vigor die, they become traps.
Yeah,
That's really good.
which is somewhat useful, but I just found that I was too worried to use it because of the limited amount I had, so I found myself just using the machine guns and the pistols, and also I found the gunplay, because I like shooters quite a lot, but I thought the gunplay was slightly dull. I thought there could have been more variety of weapons.
Yeah, you can only carry two, and I felt that was just the limitation that was just kind of like there because it had to be,
Yeah, and that was irritating. Yeah, and it was good. I enjoyed it, and the skyhook bits are great. When you're the fact that you can zip around the map and jump off, and that if you can get it to flow well.
That's what makes the combat interesting.
Yes.
With the vigors and guns, the original Bioshock had it the other way around, so you could carry as many guns as you wanted.
Yeah.
But you only had 4 plasmids, not vigors, that's what they're called, which made it more interesting.
I enjoyed that more.
Yeah,
I preferred
that's
that. That was
because,
a better
like,
mechanic.
Because the plasmids, vigors are all very similar. They're all quite boring. The plasmids were so interesting. Sort of you needed them to traverse the world, much like the hidden machines in Pokemon games. So sort of you had to choose how many you're going to carry for them. Are you going to carry the insta kill Big Daddy one because you don't want to fucking fight one of them. And it was that sort of having to pick and choose which ones you carried were more interesting than I want a gun that has less ammo but
start
blows
a
with ammo.
Pokemon cut,
Just
or
remind-
climb.
You've just reminded me of the Bioshock Infinite equivalent of the Big Daddy. That sort of
Oh,
Handyman.
gorilla.
fuck, no,
Yeah.
that's some of the
Gorilla.
worst foreshadowing I've seen in the game. And you walk past him at the fair and they're like, oh, he looks so sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're just going to have to kill that guy. You could get boss.
But they're terrifying to fight. I hated them.
Unless
They
you
were-
play on easy. Like,
What difficulty did you guys play?
I had a deadline, so I did not have a challenge. I just wanted to walk through the game.
So you went on easy?
Yeah.
And poof. I played it through on hard, and that took me a while.
You play on 1999 mode.
What's that?
That's like extra. Right?
You unlock it when you beat the game.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Basically, I played on medium up until like right towards the end when it got like really hard. So
I didn't play all the way through on hard. I'm just going to
Yeah.
point that out. I'm really bad at
Oh,
games.
right.
Uh,
the original Bioshock I was playing on hard. I was like, oh, this is so fun. Like, there's no ammo. And then there's a bit where you see a Big Daddy, and the fucking Irish guy, I can't remember his name, is like, that's a Big Daddy. You're gonna have to kill it. I just went easy. Okay.
Oh dear. That's funny.
So you enjoyed it.
Yeah, Bioshock was good. Bioshock Infinite was good. It's interesting.
Bioshock was good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All 2 games in that series.
Interesting.
I love Ken Levine. He's such a cunt. Ken Levine was just like, I didn't make that one. It didn't happen.
I tell you what's funny though. The contrast between the first 2 Bioshocks, or the first 1 Bioshock, depending on how you look at it, the contrast between that, the themes from that and the themes from Infinite, it's so much brighter in Infinite, and somehow I think it's slightly more dark because of I would call it an undertone actually, because you don't notice it at the beginning, and it's slightly subtle, and then you start to realise it later on.
Yeah,
it's got a sort of dark underbelly to this nice sky world, and I thought that worked really well, and it was interesting. I haven't seen that in a game before, really.
Yeah, because it's in the first Bioshock, you turn up after everything has gone to shit.
Yeah,
and in this one, you turn up and everything starts going to shit because you showed up.
Yeah.
So you get to see the sort of two sides of Columbia.
Yeah.
But I think that could have been done better, because it starts off quite well. You're seeing it crumbling, and then the first time you go through a what are they called? A tear. First tear you go into, it's slightly worse, and then you go into it and it's just full on war, and all of society is basically crumbled, and the streets are just now empty, and it becomes the Gears of War thing. If you see cover, you see like a few little tears, and you go, okay, this is a big combat zone. And it loses that. I liked in the opening hours of the game, you'd have a few fights, and then you'd go to an area, and you'd have like a moment of peace, a moment of character development, and you find some audio diaries, you'd slow down, you'd learn more about the world.
Yeah,
I quite liked that. But when you go through the tear, and it just becomes like by then the narrative is at such a point where you're almost more invested in the sort of story of DeWitt, and not the actual world. But the strength of Bioshock is definitely in how believable Rapture is, which is annoying because I've played I've not finished it, but I've started the DLC of Bioshock Infinite, and they show you Rapture before it had fallen, and that is irritating as shit. Because who wants to see you know more about Rapture by listening to those audio diaries in the original than anything that they could have shown you. I think Columbia's not as interesting, but it's still like a decent equivalent. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't just set it in Rapture, although there is a bit where you turn up at Rapture and it's so cheap because it's for 30 seconds, and it's just, why did they have to?
I like the what's the music that plays through the tear when you get to sort of our dimension, like is it modern day or like the 80s or something? I can't remember what song it was.
Some of the I really like the bit where you go into Paris for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But that was I remember that was in a lot of the promo material.
Yeah.
That sort of, she was like, because originally in the game Elizabeth would be able to do some fucking mad shit. Yeah. And then they ran out of time. They're like freight hooks, cover,
summoning guns.
I
and
think the original premise was like she could like bring in like a fucking other army and they fight for you while you just sneak around.
That would be pretty cool.
But like, I think they did run out of time. Anyway, go back to fucking talking about game while I sleep.
Well, yeah. So overall, I think that Bioshock Infinite was enjoyable. I do, intuitive, fun gameplay that kept me interested. Even playing it through, even though I've played it through twice, I was interested both times. The story is too complicated, I think, to understand the first time you play through, depending on how smart you are. So it took me a couple of times to play it through to even vaguely grasp what was going on, and a few YouTube videos on top of that. Yeah. It's quite weird, but obviously I think that's interesting as well, having a properly complex story.
I think I pretty much got it after the first playthrough, but after
there weren't all that smart.
No, pretty much I said, but there was one thing, so I'm like, how did that happen? And finding like a sort of like someone's explanation of it online was like, bit piece things together,
But like hearing smart people talk about stuff makes it so much more complex. Like, someone's done a thing on Toy Story, like a 20-minute video, which just changes those films entirely.
I'll watch this. I'm interested.
You will. It's all about Andy's dad. It's so fucking fascinating. I'll send you a link.
Please do.
Anyway, what if you were to be a fucking degenerate little shit, give it a ranking out of 10, because that's what we do on this wonderful podcast. What would you give it, Mr. Lawrence?
I'll give it, and can I do decimal points? Or we do decimal places?
Decimal places.
Oof. How many sig figs are we going to?
Nah,
Please. I can't give it like a...
Alright, what would you give it in decimal points?
I'm giving it an 8.9.
An 8.9. So you're not going to give it a 9?
No.
Just round it. It's one decimal point.
It doesn't deserve that one decimal point.
What do you think What do you think those 1.1 points that it lost were then? Just confusion of the plot?
Well, confusion of the plot, lack of interesting gunplay, slight repetitive gameplay sometimes. I thought it did get slightly repetitive. And well, maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I don't know quite what it was, but I enjoyed playing it, but I didn't sort of, after I'd finished it, go, wow, that was the best game I ever played. It's not something that I would rave about, and I thought it was the best game of 2013 because there wasn't that much I liked in 2013.
To be fair, we don't normally just pick the best game from the year. It's more just like a random one. I mean, it doesn't mean we don't do it or we don't go out of our way to do it, because otherwise people would shout at us.
I fucking like
being wrong.
Some of the ideas I've got for years, I'm picking films I actively dislike. Some of them I genuinely like. Some of the films I'm going to pick are like the worst films, just because I want to talk about them.
But
I think Bioshock Infinite was a good game. It was enjoyable. I just thought it had a few shortcomings in the way of interesting gameplay. It had an interesting storyline, slightly overcomplicated.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean the storyline is the best part about it, I'd say.
Yeah.
And also it's care for attention and details.
Yeah.
It's things like, I mean, I mentioned the quartet singing "God Only Knows," a Kinks song which was released in the 60s, I'm pretty sure, and
Right,
this is based in the 20s. So you've got that fact that you'd look at that and go, what the hell is going on here?
And they would have heard that through the tear.
And then you learn later that the guy hears it through the tear, and then that's how they create some of their music for the thing. And just that level of thinking, right, in this world we have tears, so what might have happened? This might have happened, that we can have this bit at the start to introduce it, sort of showing that it thinks all these things through, and you really begin to notice them with a second playthrough. You sort of notice when it is foreshadowing certain events and things, and you can see that it's thought itself through. It's not just come up with this idea and thought, oh, wouldn't it be smart if there's tears and different dimensions? It's gone, actually, what would be the core? What would happen if that was the case?
Trying to get some structure back, I think Lawrence has had some astute criticism that none of us can match, but we're going to give it a try. So Tony Wilson, tell us.
One more point I want to make. I've just had a thought. The fact that they heard that song by the Kinks and sang that when it's set in the 1920s, I wish they had been a bit more daring and had them singing Slipknot or something. I just would have loved that. That would have been brilliant. Oh god, yeah.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
I love just quickly, sorry, the Fallout games use music in that way as well.
Yeah.
You've got like this alternative sort of history, and you put like a sort of modern spin on an older song.
Yeah.
Quite like music in games is fucking important. Tony.
Okay, so first of all, I want to bring up the saying. I did like it, but I felt that there were moments, especially when you were walking past people in the beginning, where because of how it was only ever built to be sort of walked past in a sense.
Yeah, but you've got to suspend your disbelief.
You do have
it's
to.
It's a very video game thing.
Yeah.
Of everyone going, hi, just to you. But it's also it's a very quick.
Yeah, I know, but that is essentially it is a complaint to say that.
Yeah.
That it could have been more sort of.
It doesn't feel like a lived-in place. Does
it does feel like, I'm pretty sure I heard someone else say this, like window dressing in a sense.
Yeah.
That's what the setting of the world is, and it is interesting and thought
good
out.
Window dressing.
Yeah, it is interesting and thought out, and the game looks great. It holds up even today for 4 years in the future.
Play the remastered version. The visuals will blow you away. But fucking hell, the frame rate is just unbearable. Don't touch the remaster if you want to play anything above 4 frames a second for the boss fights. I'm telling you, that ghost boss fight, I didn't know what was going on. It just couldn't deal with...
just the ghost boss fight. Worst boss fight ever. Hated it.
That's when I turned the difficulty down. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Because obviously I wasn't playing on a hard difficulty, and I'd heard a lot of shit about it going in. So when it happened, I thought, well, actually, this makes sort of narrative set. I didn't particularly hate it.
It really irritated me. It took so many attempts.
I hate that you have to fight it about 5 different times.
Yes.
Yeah, and I ended up basically throwing my controller at the wall.
That's why you play games on easy.
But I didn't want to give in. I probably did. I can't remember now.
I was just like, man, this is.
I had like the thing that it's like my machine gun held like 180.
Yeah.
I didn't need to reload, so I just emptied my machine gun, just use up every bit of ammo I had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, to do with the plot, I felt that like, I'm not sure if it told a story it wanted to tell, but it could have probably done it in less time. Just because thinking about it, there were certain things that just sort of felt like, okay, this is a video game that wants to be 10 to 12 hours long, and the story it's trying to tell really doesn't need that. Like, there was just a bit where it sort of like, it focuses too much on like the moment to moment, what are you trying to do next, sort of like story beats of like, okay.
Do you mean like the backtracking? Because the backtrack is the only bit where I was like, come on.
Yeah, there's backtracking moments, a bit where you
3
like
fucking tales.
You like?
Are you joking?
There are exactly.
Why do I need 3?
Moments like that. Moments where you like that you have to find an airship like 3 different times.
Oh, yeah, that's fucking irritating.
And then it blows up, and like, what was the point of those 40 minutes? You know, what did they add? Could the story have been told more efficiently if certain parts had been taken out like that?
Yeah, I think the game is sort of. I think it thinks its mechanics are better than they actually are. So
Definitely.
Sky hooks, all these plasmids, have fun. It's like, no, this is just me shooting a guy with the machine gun, which I've kept from the start of the game. It's the fucking best weapon.
If it had sort of focused more on being a more in-depth world, would it have needed like? Does it need that sort of first-person shooter element to act as like a vehicle for the story, or could something else have told it in a better way?
What is just
different genre?
Not using
a different genre, or just is a shooter really the best way to tell the story? Is what
I don't know. I feel like sort of more of a stealth-based approach at certain aspects.
Yeah, because there is that one sort of like.
There's one stealth section.
I don't remember that bit.
There's sort of a stealth. There's an enemy where if it sees you, it will.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
but
that
I
guy.
played that bit and I had no ammo. So it was like a stealth section for me because I had to see past.
Have you played Dishonored?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity. I think that sort of gameplay would have actually worked quite well for.
That is one where the gameplay definitely sort of fits the world and the story.
If you're making a mainline Bioshock game, you have to fucking make it a first-person shooter with like interesting mechanical.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from a perspective of someone who's not super invested in the series. I haven't played the first one.
I haven't played the second one.
I personally thought that the gameplay should have been like GTA 5, third person.
Well, I think like a character voiced by what's his name?
Nolan North or Troy Baker.
Troy Baker.
You're going to be right most of the time if you guess
having
those
like
two.
A Troy Baker / Nolan North based brown-haired protagonist carry around a dark-haired girl who's of high importance to a thing whilst fighting off a resistance and a government corporation in a third-person setting in 2013. May well have. I feel like they've got that grounds covered.
Yeah, because there is one point where it sort of tries to tackle the war is bad sort of trope. I want to say it's a trope.
War is bad, 100 points.
Yeah, just like early on, it sort of tries to bring up that argument.
Are you talking about the museum? Though?
Yeah, that bit.
I fucking love that's the best bit of the game.
I know, but it brings up an argument that. From the fact that like you are approaching it from the fact that it's a first-person shooter game, you've already sort of come to terms with that from your experience.
It makes so much more sense when you play it through the second time as well. I didn't play it through the second time. I just played it through the first time. I mean, there is having a vague idea of the ending, so I sort of was like, oh, okay. But yeah, because he talks about Comstock a lot, and it's
and yeah, that is a nice reveal. But I just feeling that I feel like that argument. I guess it sort of plays into the fact that like Booker is already desensitized to the war in the sense that you are, because of you just shoot people all the time. It's not a big deal.
One game has addressed the war is bad like theme well.
Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah, it's the only game that's ever done it. So
what game?
Spec Ops: The Line. is probably the
You've
only
not played
game.
that before.
Which you definitely should.
Yeah.
Everyone should play Splinter
It's a little bit off topic, but who here has played Splinter Cell? Any of the Splinter Cell games?
I think I played one of them.
There's
I
one
wanna say.
Connect ones.
I'm just going to point out that I think particularly Blacklist and Conviction are brilliant games. No one plays them for the story because it's absolute dishwater.
It's Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy.
It's fucking trash. But the stealth gameplay is among the best.
Bioshock Infinite could use some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a right sort of pace. It's third person, but it just works so well. It's not very good in terms of online multiplayer. You do not play for that because it's absolutely hilarious.
What's that cool gameplay mode they have that's like cops versus robots, but spies versus mercs?
Yeah,
Yes, that works all right, but no one ever plays it anymore online.
Get six
I
people
go on like
together.
the one guy.
The one guy.
Yeah, but no, it's good. The storyline's really good, but I thought that sort of gameplay could have been in Bioshock Infinite. That would have worked really well. But everyone have a play of.
That's the homework assignment.
That's the 2013 game,
Bioshock.
actually. Just going to point that out. It's a Blacklist.
I think I was going to get it, but it was in that horrible phase of like games being in between generations.
Yes,
That's what I missed a lot of games.
2013 was the year.
Year I
Xbox
missed.
You can pick it up for about £4 now. So.
Jono, tell us your thoughts on Bioshock Infinite.
Well, it's a good game and I like it. It's I like the plot and how it's really thought about itself, and also the world that it does create. The thing that makes it sort of again different from the first Bioshock is how it is. You're seeing it as it's working, and as opposed to after it's all stopped. So you see a lot more of the posters, the way the people are, how the people are actually acting, which is quite nice.
Do you feel like any of that supports the gameplay? Like, do you think that this society of like religious fanatics would create these fucking things that like shoot birds out of your hand? Is there any? Because in Bioshock they're obsessed with bettering themselves, and that was the point of the plasmid.
I guess it's
but the Vigor has no narrative. It's sort of,
it sort of just comes from, I guess, that
it's
sort
a
of
bit
commercialism
ambiguous.
of like
I guess
that. Johnny talks about like how the tears were like sort of thought out pretty well in the sense that like people heard music.
they're just audio diaries, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, audio diaries.
But they work. I do like the tears.
But with the Vigors, I felt that just sort of was just like sort of dropped into the world and the game, if that makes sense.
They were just ticking a thing like we have to like be a Bioshock game.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway,
Yeah,
Johnny, what do you think?
I thought the figures were. I wasn't thinking in them, apart from the fact that.
None of them I went for the whole game and used one Vigor.
Which one?
Crows. Because what crows would do is it would delay enemies, so it would give me more time to punch them and like combo weapons.
I didn't find that useful. I used fire quite a lot.
I didn't like the ones that damaged. I liked the ones like.
Bucking Bronco was good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess was that the one that lifts them up?
Yeah. That was
I tried to use that, but I like the crows because you could just point it up in
Whenever
the air
you
and
saw
every enemy would be
like
affected.
a sort of commander, sort of like you were approaching a group and it was a commander like giving orders to like a whole bunch of people lined up.
Yeah.
That was a moment where you knew you could use like a Vigor and like target a whole bunch of people.
Yeah,
That was
Well, I'm trying to remember all the figures now. The lightning. It was lightning.
yeah, shock jockey.
There were so many of Shock Jockey's straight out of the first game, isn't it? That's you don't ever need them to traverse the world apart from like two.
There's a bit where it's like
you need Shock Jockey to get
unlocking shock jockey is like a like opening a gate.
It's like an hour long
Yeah,
section
to get a shock
that.
jockey.
I get what you said now. Actually, there was a lot of that shit.
No, but I really like the little cutscenes as well. That's a really small thing, but I love the 20.
Alright. The cutscenes aren't cutscenes. They're fucking because every cutscene in the game is you being able to walk around. I hate that in games. I don't know why, but I don't know because it's annoying. It's like I think Matt Lee said it, and when he did like a video on it, when it was like Elizabeth's telling you like this like deep internal monologue, and you're running around looting corpses.
Yeah.
Like, don't you wish the game would just take control away for like a minute and make you watch?
Yeah, so I didn't mean cutscenes. I meant the
Flashbacks.
not even flashbacks. The little tutorials. The devils.
those
they're
things.
great.
Yeah. the sort of like
shock enemies.
Yeah,
lay down an explosive trap.
I love the music. It's like dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, the piano chord that plays when you get a headshot or you melee an enemy, that's incredible.
My favourite bit of music is the loading music, purely because I think I was just playing a shit version of the game, where it took me like 3 minutes to load every like area, so I fell in love with the loading music, and like the little like picture of Booker.
Speaking of the loading screen
jam.
and me ruining this game for people, if you look at the loading icon in the loading screens, it's a fidget spinner. I want to point that out.
Oh my god, no, it's a skyhook.
Yeah,
it looks like a fidget spinner.
I did think.
Oh my god,
the skyhook is a fidget spinner.
I'd ever be interested in one that could blend people's faces.
Why does Elizabeth just have a skyhook?
So that she can use them to travel.
Yeah,
where did she get it?
She's like loops them off like a body.
Because I like the bit where you catch her at the very start, like when you're in the sky. But then I was just like skyhook. I was like, who's that?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck's
No,
Elizabeth
if you look, there is actually a bit after you catch her and do that. I think it's as you have to go up to the Hall of Heroes. She realizes that she needs one, and there's a box of provisions, and she takes it out of there. So it is properly addressed. She doesn't just magically get.
If you had the Gears of War look Y and you press Y and you see something happening, then I was probably looting a corpse and slap.
Yeah. No. My favourite bit though is just food in the trash bins. Just that. I've definitely seen many sort of memes.
How was that going to give you health?
I know, just here's some cotton candy just on a bench. I'll take that.
Yeah. Speaking of the one bit you were talking about catching Elizabeth, because this game has the thing where you look down and you don't see your body, which I'm not a fan of. It also had for that moment where you look down and you can't see things you're carrying. So for that moment, I was like, I know I've obviously caught Elizabeth, but I can't see her, and I think that would sort of make sense for that scene.
There's a weird thing when you're on Skyhook, you're two-handing a gun. It's like...
Yeah, also, when you shoot people while they're on a Skyhook, if they'll play a flinch animation that is the same one when they're like not on a Skyhook, so they'll totally like let go and then they just go back to like holding.
I feel like we need to move on to more positive things. This is a good game.
It is a good game.
There's a little person that's slightly
that's
sort of underdeveloped in a sense like that.
I think it was rushed out because it was the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 because they kept it in development for such a long time, tweaking it, and then they were like, "Fuck, we got to just get this out."
Yeah, and that shows in the fact that Tanya was saying that there's a lot of almost filler content that probably could have been made more interesting, but they had to just sort of sew it all together to make it work as a whole game.
There weren't enough audio diaries for me. The ones you got made no sense of why they'd be there. Like you just find one like in the middle of the road from Comstock going like, "I'm a bad guy." Why is there not a boy going, "I'm excited to go to the fair. Abuse the black people." That would be better world building than just Comstock just being in the trash can.
Comstock's just been sitting on the bench, just like having dark monologue as people walk past.
Because the plot twist is good, but the whole point of the plot twist means Comstock can never be a compelling villain. Because Comstock's purpose is to sort of lead up to that moment. He's not that interesting a character.
Right.
When the final confrontation of Elizabeth and Comstock happens, I was like, I don't give a shit about this guy. They've not made him the villain or like created as much intrigue as Atlas had in the original. He's just a bit.
I think that moment where
he could be a villain like the way people consider Vars in like Far Cry 3. He could be like this guy who's like you're chasing the whole game until you finally confront him and you're like,
the problem is you're not chasing him really. You're trying to leave and he's trying to stop you.
And then there's a moment where it's like, now we're not trying to leave, we have to kill him. It's like, okay, fine. And for his sort of death scene, it was just sort of like a bit underwhelming. You just sort of drown him in a bird bath. And
to kill Comstock.
But at the end of the day, that might be not such a bad thing because it's showing that he never really had that much power.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you can also
I would have hated for him to be like a really bad boss battle. He just died and you loot his corpse.
He could definitely have been a more interesting character. I feel like, I don't know, they gave Lady Comstock more time than they actually gave Comstock.
But I thought Booker was an interesting character.
Booker's a cool character, but he's a blank slate.
He's got kind of murky past about him.
Everything serves and like a narrative purpose, doesn't it? It's sort of like Booker never really questions his past because he almost doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Sort of
So we're going to talk about the whole sort of loop storyline and how that sort of closes itself.
I don't want to.
I think this is going to be a long podcast, boys.
I feel like
in sort of the spirit of the Wolf of Wall Street, I think we should have an extra long.
3 hour
Yeah.
long podcast.
I think we should spend an hour on one, an hour on the other.
Yeah.
Time in the world.
Great.
And I'm doing no editing.
So this is the harder, longer, and uncut version of our podcast.
There's no music, no fucking nothing, man.
How many viewers have we got currently?
No,
I'd say as many as 4.
Barnaby.
All of which are in this room.
Wow.
I don't watch it that often.
Give Bioshock Infinite a meaningless number and slap on the end of it.
There you go first.
I'm going 8.
Use the decimal place, otherwise I'm going to get
0.0.
Yeah. Well, trying to score this one is interesting because Harry, you can't tell me what to do.
Independent pony.
What I do with my meaningless number is that this definitely had its flaws. I feel that it definitely did the job of being a good sequel to the first Bioshock, and I'm wondering where Ken Levine is today. I think he's working on I want to say Lawbreakers or Paragon, one of those Overwatch but not Overwatch games.
You can't hear his name without thinking of maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Ken Levine.
But I think this game set out to do a lot, and I think it did enough of it to be worthy of a good score. It's definitely worth your time. There are complaints to be made with it, but at the end of the day, nothing is perfect. However, there are an infinite million universes, and there is one of them where this game is perfect. And because that universe
That's actually a really good justification.
exists, I have to give this game a 10 out of 10.
He finds a way.
But this is some sort of joke. Have you given every single game a 10 out of 10?
Quite possibly.
I think I may be changing one of those scores in the future.
Cool.
Yeah, Portal 2. Fuck you. Right,
Portal 2 deserves to be a 10.
Thank you. We'll get on to that. 2011. Right, can I address some things that I wrote that aren't actually that interesting? First of all, the bit in the prison where you pull that lever and you turn around and there's a guy behind you. That fucking killed me.
Oh my god, where it's the guy who leans over your shoulder.
No, when you turn around, it's one of those siren guys. He's just behind you.
He was leaning over my shoulder when I
don't
did
like
that.
It when
Was funny.
Non-scary games just have one jump scare in them, and there's no warning. It's not fair.
I feel though
when you're sitting really close to your TV as well, it's getting late, and you're like, right, I should play this game.
I think you get a license to do that.
I hate that.
I've got to say, though, I prefer that to playing a properly scary game.
Yeah, but at least you're preparing. You're prepared for it. Right, let's
last,
address the elephant in the room. Elizabeth is like a terrible.
She's not that fat.
That's the problem. Right, she is the voice actress. I have no idea who she is. Gives a good performance, but some of the dialogue she has to deliver is just. There's a moment where you like it's like a really deep conversation about killing people. And you're like, I don't want you to do that. And I think the return line's like, I want a puppy.
It's like, well, I want a puppy, and I'm not going to get
really
one.
It's
a bad line like that.
It's in it's in the Hall of Heroes.
Yeah, but it is.
It's like I actually had to pause the game and laugh.
I love that. But basically, it's when Elizabeth finds out that she's Comstock's daughter, and that
it's a really pivotal moment.
And that Comstock wants her to take over,
yeah.
and then her response is, "Well, I want a puppy, but it's not going to happen."
Yeah,
it's
like
what we want is
sarcastic though.
Yes, it's awful.
And to do with Elizabeth's characterization, the fact that she spent her entire life in isolation in this tower,
she doesn't give a shit when she gets out. She's like, this floating city.
Yeah, because it's approached as of a normal human being who had this sort of really bad thing happen to them in their past, when really that would if someone were to actually go through that and grow up that way, they would not come out as like a functioning human being who would be like, man, that was really bad. I hope I avoid that in the future.
Like an Asperger's kind of person, like socially awkward.
So you know, like it has these annoying cutscene things that I've mentioned. There'll be moments where it's like a really tense moment in the story, and Elizabeth will be halfway through a monologue, and she'll go, "Here, and throw you some money." It's like,
I mean, to be fair,
it's really annoying.
Talking about like commentary on like NPC followers.
Oh God, no!
She's way better than. She's
We
definitely
must
top
save
tier
my
followers.
The problem is that she is Ellie from The Last of Us, but not as good. And like when you've got a game that comes out the year The Last of Us does,
I have not played The Last of Us.
Okay.
What is good about it?
Well, it's basically you're trying to take this girl with special powers from one place to another, and you don't like her, and eventually your relationship blossoms with her, and she becomes
This
more
is
of an
literally the Bioshock Infinite.
I know it is, but imagine if the character was like well written. That's Ellie.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she had some fucking like she had an arc.
Yeah, but
And also, why the fuck is she wearing like a course? Like her clothing choice is questionable to say the least.
I'm not arguing with her clothing choice.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about.
I'm not arguing with many of the people's clothing
just
choice.
to talk
Yeah.
about one
no
thing
clothes.
with Elizabeth that I did like was whenever you sprint, she sprints.
Oh yeah,
that's like good.
that is
This game could have been like a 10-hour long escort mission.
Mhm.
Imagine if the entire game had like Elizabeth's health bar in like the top corner.
Yeah.
I would 0 out of 10, but no, it does.
They do something equally
It
as bad,
does,
like giving Comstock shit health bar.
Yeah, but that's like the last mission at the end of the game,
but
and also
that's
it's like
alright.
massive. You know,
Okay.
you just like stand in front of the fucking
Just-
thing.
This is the hot take. Games do not have to have a big fucking bit. You don't have to have a big moment at the end, like a big explodey. Everything comes together. You have to fight this. They don't have to.
It works well though when they do.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, the original Bioshock is like the worst boss fight of all time.
Oh, yeah.
It's like just end it. Man.
Yeah.
Shit.
Games are scared to just end. Like they have to. Like no, we have to follow video game tropes. It's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I did like the sort of songbird thing at the end. That was quite nice.
Songbird's terrifying.
Yeah,
It's just the music, the 4 notes that play
C
that cause it to come.
G E.
Also,
Also, not
what-
what those notes sound like. I am tone deaf.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. When you hear the notes, you're like,
Yeah.
well, fuck.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, because
And
I
also-
like that he wasn't a boss battle, because that way you'd know whenever he was coming. Like, I guess I'm getting fucked, you know.
Yeah,
Like it sort of fits.
I
and,
do.
like,
I like the idea
Songbird
that, like,
stops you every
we're
time.
not capable of killing it. It's sort of.
And also there's a foreshadowing to how it is defeated, because right at the start when you first meet it, you fall into water and it tries to follow you. And
Oh,
you can
yeah.
see that its eye begins to crack and it can't
Oh,
survive
shit.
being
That's-
in water.
Yeah,
That's good
That's a-
foreshadow.
It is, yeah. Again, the things you notice on a second playthrough going, hey!
Yeah, there is one thing I didn't like the foreshadowing of, and that is the fact that
Most of the foreshadowing.
that is the Booker being also Comstock.
That's not that. I don't know.
I feel like I kind of understand it in the sense that it's foreshadowed when like Elizabeth also becomes like Comstock, because you see that universe where that does happen.
The audio diaries and that are great.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, but it's sort of just like it's sort of something that you just sort of have to accept, the fact that like, okay, there was the split of the baptism after the Wounded Knee,
Mhm.
where one universe he becomes Comstock, one universe he becomes Booker DeWitt, meets Anna, names his child Anna, which is confusing, but then
Wait,
gives
what?
basically how the loop works is that I read up on it is that Booker after after Wounded Knee, he has the baptism, right? Because towards the end of the game, it is the baptism. He remembers it, and one universe he accepts the baptism, and one universe he rejects it. And the universe that accepts it, it's asked like, "What is your new name?" My new name is Comstock.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's sort of like you sort of just have to accept the fact that a person could change so radically to become Comstock. But maybe it was something that I'll notice on a second go through is looking at Comstock. Hints that he used to be Booker.
Mhm.
I mean, it does kind of make sense.
The first voxophone you find is Comstock saying what happens when a person is baptized. One person, comes out, and then another one is lost in the
because
water.
Comstock serves a twist. His entire purpose is to serve the twist that he is Booker. It completely limits what that character is.
Yeah.
In the fact that he is quite a shit villain. Unless you're playing it through a second time, you're like, oh, actually, it's interesting. But like, having this big antagonist like Comstock, he's awful, he's terrible. You don't really have enough, even if it's just other characters telling you like, oh, he's bad. And, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's an 8 out of 10 game, and I will fight anyone who thinks it's better than that because it's so pretentious. It's good. It's like fucking Alien Covenant levels of pretentious. Because Alien Covenant is a good dumb film, but it thinks it's like this genius masterstroke. Like it's talking about like Shelley and like quoting like famous bits of like literature and poetry. Like it's just dropping them in, going, oh look what I've read. I feel like there's a lot about this game where it's like. It starts touching on like stuff like quantum physics. It starts pretending it's smarter than it is.
Yeah, but
I feel like that's just sort of like part of like the pseudoscience that justifies the whole thing.
Yeah,
I feel like
I don't think it's trying to be smart.
Unless
like,
I heard like Ken Levine going like, "This is the best game," like twiddling his evil villain mustache.
It's trying to make it like it's trying to blow your mind. But
I think it does a good job of it.
I don't think
the Pinky moment. That was like a good twist for me. That was like
Yeah.
I think
That
that's
is
probably
good.
the smartest thing, other than
you definitely have to check out the Matt Lee's video about it because
I will.
The one thing he says is about it's like Doctor Who, in the fact that it's so set on getting you to the end. It's so set on getting you to this end twist that the journey along the way can be a bit shit. And
I'm just going to point out, I absolutely hate Doctor Who. I think it's badly made.
Oh, it's awful these days.
I think
back in the Tennant days.
Tennant days was good.
You.
Matt says
That's
all right.
Speaking of time loops, just to compare it to a film I've seen, Arrival. I feel like
Arrival's so good.
I feel like that's a better way to do a time loop, just because it does it in a shorter amount of time.
Isn't really time.
It's a space loop. It's a multiple universe loop. And it's essentially a similar, and it sort of completes itself.
Yeah, it's
like,
interesting.
I think I need to see like a big diagram of how the whole storyboard works.
Basically, it's
no. I don't want to have explained this horrible. Like it's just a big mess.
I think it's fairly
cold.
This is staying in. Unless you pick up, and then it's definitely not staying in.
I'm going to ignore that, and now I'm going to call it back in half an hour.
Alright, we've set a day at half. Alright, so Bioshock Infinite is a good game. It's a bit pretentious. I like the gentleman and the lady there. They provide some humour in it.
Yes.
It's not as fucking clever as it thinks it is. It's not as good as the first Bioshock, but it's still a good game. Are we ready to move on to the film?
I think we must be. It's almost reached an hour.
Right. Let's not have any of the fucking bullshit. Let's just cut straight to it. It's a 3-hour film made by Martin Scorsese. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio in it. And it's not The Departed. It is The Wolf of Wall Street.
And I like it a lot. It's a good film. Just going to put that out there.
Is that your review? Stick a number on it. Submit it to the fucking, I don't know, The Guardian, wherever.
Rotten Tomatoes. Not really reviewed, but oh well.
Yeah, I watched the film when it not when it came out, about a year after it came out on Sky Movies. Started watching it at about, I believe, sometime in. Don't ask me how I can remember this. You'll know how I remember this after I get into it. Anyway, I started watching in daylight. And I very quickly, whilst my mum was in the room, not really knowing what the film was about, I very quickly realised that I shouldn't be watching this while my mum was in the room as a 14-year-old boy. I then turned off the TV and pretended to go to bed at about 2 a.m. I then watched the rest of the film and enjoyed it thoroughly, particularly the bits that I didn't want to see with my mum.
How rookie were your numbers by the end of the film?
Oh god, yeah. I didn't really. Obviously, I was only 14, so I was a bit of a backhanded clapper. I didn't really understand much, but I watched it again recently. Watched it about a year ago, and I watched it the other day. So I really understood what was going on. It's a. I can't really describe what genre it is. It's
a Scorsese film.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen one, it's just that again.
Yeah. It's your main character is a stockbroker. Well, he's just trained to be a stockbroker in
Broker DeWitt.
in New York, and he starts off at a big company, being a bit legit. He gets a taste of the life as a big league stockbroker.
Yeah, first one's always free.
Yeah, he gets a bit of a taste of the good life, but then it all goes to shit, and his company shits the bed, and he has to bail, and he's a bit lost after this, so he tries to look for another job. And he stumbles across a really, really crap stockbroking company, a really small one.
From there.
Sorry?
The rest is history.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough synopsis, because it is a 3-hour movie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
It would take an hour to...
I'm going to shorten
The guy gets rich,
Guy...
becomes investigated by the FBI because he did it dubiously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like
You could write the plot on the back
3
of the
hours
postcard.
worth of a guy like
Fucked.
doing
Doing
pretty much
moves.
every sin under the sun.
Yeah, and that's why it's enjoyable. It's got a lot of like things that you're like, oh my god, that is horrendous but brilliant. And the storyline is basic, but it makes sense and it's realistic, believable.
I mean, it's based on real
Yeah,
events.
it's based on the guy, isn't it?
Jordan Belfort is an actual person who actually came in and talked to Leonardo DiCaprio about some of
probably
about some of the emotions he was feeling and how he reacted to certain things. He also appears in the film, the actual guy right at the end.
Oh, is it at the end? Is that the last
He's
shot?
the one who introduces Jordan Belfort.
Oh, that's too matter.
That's cool. That's some interesting shite.
Right, Lawrence, give it a score. Give it a fucking push out the door. There we go.
It's a 7.
It's a 7.
I'm not going to have a decimal place. It's a 7, maybe 7.5.
Let's address the fact: is the film too long? Yes or no?
Yes, a bit too long. It's a bit too fleshed out, but it is enjoyable. And it's one of those films that I can go back and watch again and sort of enjoy because it's funny, but not just some mindless Adam Sandler comedy sort of thing. It's well written as well, and it's actually got a storyline other than Click or something. So Click is the best film I've done. So I've committed a cardinal sin.
Should we do a round table and go to John next?
So my feelings on the film, I think it has some good moments. Its problem is that not all of those, it's got good moments, but it's also got a lot of moments which are just moments, I feel, which is why it definitely doesn't, in my mind, justify being 3 hours. I was feeling like it was dragging on even by like an hour and a half into it. But no, it's got good moments that are funny. Some of the things that are said are quite nice. It has actually. It's quite interesting seeing them having to go and sort of hide the illegal acts that they are doing and having to do that. But the problem is, it just doesn't quite. For me, if it wants to be a comedy, it doesn't spend long enough trying to be a comedy. If it's trying to be a thriller about not getting caught by the FBI, it doesn't spend enough time doing that. If it wants me to look how this character falls from being sort of nice when he starts out. When he starts out, he's there's his wife. He just wants to be rich.
There is not a second of this film where this is a nice guy.
I think he's come again.
Guy.
He has the baptism by the end.
That's my point.
He may have been nice for 30 seconds.
That's
green.
The first 20 minutes of the film are him rising up the ranks. The next 2 hours and 40 minutes are him at the top.
Yeah. My point is, if you want this to be a show of how he went from being a sort of
you need to spend
nice
an hour on
it to a complete
more interesting early stuff.
Yeah, if you want this to look at how he's changed, it doesn't really do that.
Yeah, it's not fucking Breaking Bad.
I was gonna say it's like almost Macbeth-like in the sense of how it's sort of.
Yeah, but it would be Macbeth if the third act was 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And the first act was 20 minutes.
Exactly. I feel like John has said, it could have done more on that.
Macbeth was just 3 hours of him fucking Lady Macbeth. that's what it's like.
Or he gets a new Lady Macbeth halfway through.
Yeah, he's got plenty of Lady Macbeths.
So yeah, it is that sort of rise to power sort of story, and then
it's not.
How...
It's about a man in power.
Yeah, and then
Rise. I would have watched it. I would have much preferred a film where it's a rise.
Yeah, it kind of does drag on too long.
It is.
I fucking love the start of this film because it's like I needed more of him growing. I didn't need a fucking 4 shots of just the table sizes increasing.
Yeah,
it would be a more interesting story how he went from the humble character at the start. I don't know if a lot of that got cut because the original cut was 4 hours, and he went, you know what, I'm not cutting any of the tits. I'm going to cut the interesting character development. I'm going to keep the orgies. Like I think
we're going to keep the audience hard throughout the film.
But yeah, I'm not taking this whole rising from the top because it's just a film about guys doing really fucking well for
rising
himself.
from the top.
Rising, from the top to the bottom. That's the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, it was alright. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't that in depth.
I feel like if the entire film was like setting up and showing how he is this like corrupted guy like at the top of the world, you know, it should have spent longer, not just at the beginning but at the end, because there is like the throwaway line like I went to rehab, you know, and like that's like the hard like character journey that should be like
you could make a film out of that sentence.
But, then that's like I would have gladly sacrificed the titty time for the sort of the Leonardo DiCaprio struggling to like become a better person again, you know, like realizing like have the wake up call like earlier on, and then be the of trying to make amends for what I've done, you know, sort of thing.
Because the most poignant moment for me is when with his second wife, she says that she wants a divorce, and then the events that happen after that. That's
I hated that. I was just like, this is you trying to do an impression of that fucking scene in the second Godfather film. It's like, no.
I mean, I've not seen. Yeah, I know. The Godfather,
it's like they've taken one of the best scenes of all time, and they're trying to do an impression of it. It's fucking awful. And like 30 seconds earlier, it's just a fucking like sex scene. Like, yeah, that's the tone we're going for.
Yeah, that.
I mean, that's that guy that just starts jerking off.
Yeah, but that's Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill can get away with it.
Yeah, that was great. I like that song.
I like when I see Jonah Hill. I'm just like, this is a funny scene. Like, because he's that sort of actor.
Are we going to talk about the Quaalude scene? As we were saying, it was probably the best one.
Discovering the new stage.
I have to be brutally honest. This is the only scene which made me laugh out loud in the whole film.
Oh, a few scenes made me laugh out.
This is the only scene where I was like, this is actually really funny, because it was just a piece of slapstick comedy for like 10 minutes.
They could only do one shot of that because Leonardo really hurt his back doing that.
It was just like The Revenant. Leo fucking like crawling.
I could watch a 3-hour film of that. 3-hour film of just him getting from.
Yeah, that's what The Revenant is. To be fair, like I don't know how he didn't win the Oscar for that performance, because he's so good in it. He's so fucking good.
It's a good actor.
Yeah. I didn't like The Revenant. Just talking about The Revenant.
Oh, The Revenant. The Revenant's alright, but
boring.
I like Tom Hardy in it. Tom Hardy's the best thing in that film.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's awesome.
Alright. Anyway.
The beard is beast.
So, guys, should we keep going, because I've got some things to say about it?
Okay.
Alright. I think it's okay. The problem is the character, the main character. I can't remember his name. I'm going to call him Leo. Leo. The actor is nice, but the character I've just invented called Leo, who's the protagonist of The Wolf of Wall Street, is not a nice bat. He's not a good kid. You don't like spending time with him. He's for a voyeuristic sort of, you're watching him live his life. It's entertaining. like, is he a character that you could fucking empathise with and like relate to?
Look,
I feel
you
like
can,
I feel
you
like
can.
If
you
we'd
sort of-
spent more time developing him, like a Walter White, like he starts as a loser and then works his way up, so he's got this empire. So when he loses it, sorry, spoilers for Breaking Bad, you feel for Walter White. If they'd have spent more time building this character up, and like it would, because you got a 3-hour film, like fucking Michael's journey in The Godfather, which is also a 3-hour film, is incredible. And like other Scorsese films, like Goodfellas, it gives you this bad character who's a criminal who does bad things, who's not a good human being, and you empathise with him. And you, if bad things happen to him, you care. I didn't really particularly care about.
There are a few moments that are like worthy of like showing that you should be empathising with him. There's that one moment where he's giving his goodbye speech that he like sort of bails out on at the last second, which from like a sort of film length perspective, like they probably shouldn't have had that.
In
like
fairness to that, because it's also, I think the dialogue is incredible. So my favourite moments of this film is that like the bits where he's having a chat with the FBI agent on the boat, the bits where Scorsese's channeling his other films, and he's like, "This is a proper gangster movie," and even the bits where Leo's directly addressing the camera. Any bit of pure dialogue is incredible, and like, but there's enough of that to make a really good 2-hour movie.
Yeah, they just fleshed it out too much.
I feel like he was like, no, this is an 18 rated certificate. This is, we're going for a hard sort of. We have to show this guy's lifestyle as it is, and I think 10 minutes of the fucking his life, you like, okay, I get it. I don't. It
this
gets
guy
to
does
the,
drugs.
I get. It gets to the point where it's bordering on, not bordering. It's surpassing exploitational. It's part. It's sort of.
It feels like a lot of bits have been stitched on. It kind of felt like it'd been designed as a 4-hour movie.
It became Entourage.
And
that's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, no. But it had been cut down, and it didn't work when it had been cut down. I don't know if it would have worked as a 4-hour movie. I doubt it, but there were bits in it that were good.
It could have worked as a 4-part TV drama.
Yeah, it would have worked better as a 2-hour long movie if they'd cut out all the useless.
They cut out about half the orgies.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Have you guys seen Mad Men?
No.
Okay, so the main character of Mad Men is very similar. He's a horrible human being called Don Draper, and he lives the lifestyle of Leo, pretty much. But the point of Mad Men is it's set in the 1960s, and it's a social commentary of the culture that surrounded advertising. So he is like this guy who does advertising deals, and there's a certain amount of pleasure you get from him doing his job really well. Like there is in the early part of the film when you see Leo doing that first sale at his own company, you're like, oh, this is fun to watch because it's a man succeeding, like the American Dream and all that shit. It's fun to watch someone else be good at shit.
Yeah.
And like Mad Men also has a very similar sort of character journey. But the thing with Mad Men is it never becomes exploitational. It never becomes the thing it's trying to make a comment on. This is as bad as the sort of lifestyle he was living. It's unedited, it's raw, and it's just softcore and at times hardcore porn. It's not really. And like, I get that people are going to watch this, and you're going to watch it as a 14-year-old and go, "This is the best film I've ever seen." But it's an 18 certificate film as well. So like, when you're an adult, you're probably either watching it going, "This is the greatest film of all time. I want to live like him," and you're a detestable human being, or you're like, "Okay, this is interesting, but where are you going to go with it?" I don't know. The film never presents him as a bad guy. He is a criminal. The things he's doing are illegal. He's making money off working class people being foolish enough to want to be like him and buying.
That was like the early of the film.
That's the thing. Like, this is a real life dude who has real life victims and who has spent time in a prison. But the film never shows you it never shows you him commit a crime.
The moments that are interesting is when he does talk about when he's saying his farewell speech.
When he's talking about the good things he's done.
Yeah, and you're like, he gave this person a lot of money because he could. He does also say very quickly how because he's got money, he can just give it to charity if he wants. He's got that. We don't see the people he's screwed over really, or the people that he's helped. So it all seems
there
very.
There is that one line.
I guess.
But his wife.
There's a one line in the 3-hour movie.
There might
but
be a reason for that though. What I'm saying is, this is from his perspective.
Yeah.
From his point of view, he may
Jedi
know about.
Sorry.
he may know about what he's done, but it's very disconnected,
Yeah,
which makes it
that
easier
makes
for him
sense.
to deal with.
Yeah.
Which
And-
is why I think possibly what we need is more from that FBI agent.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to have two, especially when you've got a 3-hour film, have two sides of it. One which is Leo leading
it
his
just becomes
side.
catch when you can, man.
Yeah.
But
Just
the FBI
have
stuff is interesting.
yeah, but I feel like Denham could have been set up as a better villain if more time.
He's not really a villain. I was really.
I
He's
mean,
the good guy.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I mean, villain in, like the story sense, like
Yeah.
because Leo is the hero, you know. But as in, we follow him with the
Yeah,
camera
he's
for
the-
the
he's
most
the
time, Harry.
protagonist.
No
I would
fucking.
not
This
call
isn't a
him-
moral
Yeah,
judgment.
no.
Okay, this is like using like. Anyway,
But it's a good film for all its flaws. It's well written. It's paced. It's well shot. It is funny at times. There's incredible moments where it uses film, like when he's doing that infomercial when he gets arrested by the FBI.
Yeah, that is-
that's
that-
an incredibly
that
well composed piece of cinema. That's genius.
also
You think Scorsese's actually a fucking genius. This is a good film. And then it just goes to like a 5-minute sex scene. You're like, well, okay.
Scorsese's a genius.
Okay, I get that Margot Robbie's attractive, but like, why is Jonah Hill just jerking off?
I mean, I get where Jonah Hill is coming from, you know, in more ways than one. If you think about the sentence.
other clever things when filming scenes when he is high, they use a different kind of sort of lens to they do to when he's sober.
Yeah.
Not something I noticed when watching it at the time, but
Oh, there's definitely a blur when he's fucking off his tits.
I mean, other things like it's when he is high, that it all flows much less, sort of more juddery. It's all a bit more weirdly cut together, which is I did notice that when watching it. So it's been well edited and put together and filmed. It does that quite well.
Just going to say something totally random and weird. When you're talking about the lenses there, for some reason I was thinking of, you know, he had a different lens when he was off his tits. This is obviously from a third person perspective, which makes it slightly odd. It just made me think of, you know, films that are filmed from a first person perspective.
That one film.
The first thing I thought
Hardcore
was
Henry.
Hardcore Henry.
The only film.
The
that's
biggest
done that.
box office bomb ever.
did it bomb?
It was
Really?
terrible.
Yeah, but did it actually make money?
I'm sure it did. I'm very sure.
I'm sure this made a lot of money,
I'm
as
sure.
did the central protagonist.
No, I
Can you imagine if a film about making money just like completely failed?
Do you know what?
That'd be funny.
Do you know, I'd almost because alright, if you're talking about a real life dude who fucking made a load of money and had a similar lifestyle, it's a bit like Pablo Escobar. But this doesn't fucking come close to like Narcos is, because Pablo Escobar does some good things, but he's a fucking detestable human being.
Yeah.
And you're not following. You're spending half of it with him and half of it with the people that are trying to. I think start with the FBI agent, and I think that would work. Even if there's a big tonal shift as well in the film, like in about an hour and a half in, where it just becomes like a different film entirely with like all the Swiss stuff.
Right, so are you saying that the FBI agent should have had a proper backstory?
I think there should have been more of him. I think
Just build
there's
him
a very
up,
interesting
or-
scene where
yeah.
he's on the subway going home.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I think it would have made more sense to just sort of show like it's sort of only ever shown from like Leo's perspective of like, oh, I hate this guy. You
But
know,
the
he's
problem
just
is-
like an agent who's trying to.
Because when you have this sort of these two people chasing each other in this complex sort of crime thriller, it's too long. Like this is a 3-hour film. Imagine how long this film would
I mean,
be.
I'm saying like if they had spent the
What's
orgy
that
time
film
more
with, I can't
effectively,
remember
is
the
what
name
I'm
of it,
saying.
which is going to be the sort of my downfall here. But the film where De Niro and Pacino are like fucking going up against each other.
Bloodhound.
No, Pacino.
Yeah, it's that really long film that everyone says is fucking too long. That's what the
Passengers.
I cannot remember what the
Oh,
film's called for the life.
Speaking of films with Pacino, have you seen Donnie Brasco?
No.
Oh my god, you will love it. You like Godfather?
Of course it is. Godfather.
Watch Donnie Brasco.
Alright,
Donnie Brasco tonight. Watch it.
I will try and watch it tonight.
Okay.
But
get
as
back
we're
to
in a
me.
podcast which is about going back in time, we've got all the time of the world to
Watch
So, anything else? Oh
I
yeah,
mean, if
give,
we're going back in time, then surely you'll be watching it yesterday.
of course. Give it a score. Give The Wolf of Wall Street a score
Rick,
out of
more than
10. We've already got a 7. I can predict Tony's score. Do you know?
It's either a 5 or a 6.
I dislike it more than you, and I'd give it a 6. Because the fucking dialogue in it is incredible.
The thing is, I went through in the same day that I watched this film. I also watched the first series of The Thick of It, and I think compared to the dialogue and swearing in The Thick of It, I think nothing can ever be as satisfying.
I think the thing is though, like the swearing in this is just like it doesn't compare to like something like Casino, which is just once you've heard fuck like 10 times, you've heard it a million times. You know what I mean? It's just
don't you need to get interesting with the swear words? You know, you gotta make up some like brilliant things.
Also, actually no, I don't know if I should give it a fuck because it underuses Matthew McConaughey.
It doesn't deserve
Matthew McConaughey steals the fucking scene, and they just never use him again.
He's the one right at the start, right?
Yeah.
The one, yeah. That's just that's a warm up exercise he does for acting. So he was just doing that on the set, and then the reason why Leo sort of looks around confused is because he's looking at Scorsese, going, "What do I do?"
That's so cool.
Anyway, I think.
So any film that starts with them throwing a fucking dwarf or a gnome or an elf, if you've watched The Office, it's just God.
You've got to not look into its eyes. You've got to look at its chin.
Yeah, the fact that like most of this cast was like spent the majority of the time like off their shit, like that was, I want to say that was interesting from like the sort of like this weird like I won't say lucid, but the opposite of lucid feeling of like how weird everything was, like seeing how people like almost talking in a coherent way, like trying to make business sense of things, but also being like incredibly stupid in the way that only like drunk / intoxicated people are, you know, just like making ridiculous decisions and like just being idiots generally. I know,
it's incredible. Yeah, I like how casually Joanna Lumley just pops up in the film. Just like, oh yeah, I did fucking drugs. I lived through the 60s. Anyway, 6 hours.
How many people died from a heart attack? Like 2 in this film, right? There was that one guy that was in Spy Kids 3 who also died from a heart attack at 35.
Spy Kids is the best film series.
Wait, I can't remember. It's 3 hours long. It's too long.
Alright, well, I haven't scored it yet, and I have no recollection of this film being a 7 out of 10, or even like a 6 or a 5. I swear on the oath, but I have not been bribed to give this film a 10 out of 10.
It was 10 out of 10.
Have you got $500,000 from buying that
10.
stock, Tony?
I have no recollection
What's
of
that
those
red
stock.
dot on your chest that suddenly disappeared?
I do not have a Swiss bank account in Leonardo DiCaprio's name.
This is where you put out a cloth and then take it off, and there's a yellow piece of paper saying you're.
I am on the wire.
I mean, we're literally recording this, so that would be. Anyways.
There are multiple wires in this. There's also
There's
a picture
wires
of
over there, yeah.
Okay, so that is a film that has been reviewed. Although Joanna never gave it a score. Cop out, give it a score. 5.5 does not count.
I'll go for 6. I think.
Let's not be too
It
harsh.
is on the side of better
What did
than
I give
average.
it?
7.
Oh, yeah. I have short-term memory loss. Sorry.
That's probably why you enjoyed it. You forgot there was a sex scene.
Like 2 hours since I've seen an orgy scene.
Okay, that's. I think that's a wrap, boys. I think we've done
Thank
some
you
good
for our extra length.
podcasting.
We're gonna have to spin the wheel now, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm not editing it, so we're literally just gonna we're gonna put the suppressor on the wheel, I'd say, and it's a suppressed wheel this week. We're gonna react to it, but we're not gonna hear the magic sound effect, which is definitely not put in post. So I think.
What's the sound effect like? We can just.
There we go. It's been spinning.
Oh my god, it's me.
Remarkable.
What are you doing?
Did you not see the giant wheel we just spun?
There's no wheel, this is an Excel spreadsheet.
Shut up, Greg.
That's the fourth wall. No.
It's not Excel. It's Google Sheets.
We're professionals here.
Gone
I stand
back
corrected.
to 2012, the year when the world definitely should have ended, and
How we miss it.
how to pick a film and a game. Well,
What have you chosen?
I think
Did you
that
pick Mitt Romney's presidential campaign as your film? If not, I'd be very disappointed. It was remarkable.
I think after playing Bioshock Infinite that I've gotten a real desire for complicated time loops, and so my film is going to be Looper. The time
that's
travel
a link
film.
I can get behind.
And
That
because
segue was so smooth. It's like,
Because-
blah.
yeah, because it's a really good roguelike. Faster Than Light, or FTL Faster Than Light, is
that the name?
FTL
FTL : Faster Than Light.
Advanced Edition. Because that's a free update we're going to get.
So you mean I have to buy that game where you play like 2D spaceships?
Yep, it's a really good. It's
Sigh.
and I think you'll enjoy it if you give it a chance.
I'm really impatient with this.
Well, if you're impatient, maybe you can leave and come back another time, perhaps 2010 or around that space.
Yeah, that would be really convenient. I wonder what film / game I would pick for that. Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll see if the wheel ever fucks up again.
Yeah, the wheel might break and I might arrive back in Wonderland.
Well,
Thank you
I'd
all
say
four
it's
of you
been-
for watching.
it's been a
for
good-
audience members.
It's been a good year, I'd
Mine.
say.
Well done for me for joining in or something.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done with your insightful opinions.
Oh, we're going to do a shout out to Marcus.
Marcus
Marcus
wait.
Lewis.
is he watching episode
Is
4?
he bribing us?
The great guy.
I swear under oath that I have no recollection of said bribe.
He's the best guy.
Marcus Lewis, also known as the Godfather.
His first name is Marcus, his second name is Lewis. He's really good.
Shout out to
Shout out to me.
ML Marcus Lewis. Marcus Lewis. Advanced Edition.
It's like, when podcasts have their, Patreon subscribers. We just have our listener. That's who we...
Oh, one listener.
He's not even watching this episode.
I know.
Alright. Is that
But in
enough?
another universe, he is.
Can I go home now?
Goodbye.
I
Alright.
think so.
See
I
ya.
think so.
See ya.
I wonder what I'm going to buy from Tesco's.
You probably caught that.